Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists veterinary associates with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about the differences between being a W-2 employee and a 1099 independent contractor when it comes to being a veterinary associate. So there's generally two types of scenarios. If you're working full-time, you're getting benefits, you're not working anywhere else, you should generally be classified as an employee, and then you'd receive a W-2 at the end of the year. Taxes are taken out of your compensation. So that's a normal employment relationship. If you're doing relief work, if you're working very part-time, maybe a couple times a month at a clinic, maybe once a week, then it might make more sense to be classified as a independent contractor, and then at the end of the year you'd receive a 1099, and then no taxes are taken out of your compensation. So I'm going to walk through kind of what makes one versus the other, and then some red flags to think about. So as I said, generally, if you're a full-time employee, you're going to receive a W-2, taxes taken out, and your malpractice is paid for. They should give you a stipend for continuing education. They should pay for your license and your DEA registration if you need it. Offer normal benefits. Not every veterinary clinic offers full benefits. If you're working for a corporate-owned practice, you'll likely get them. If you're working for a veterinary-owned clinic, maybe only a few vets, you may not. But in that scenario, it makes sense to be classified as an employee. As I said before, if you're doing relief work that's maybe not on a set schedule, it's kind of up to you if you want to work there, or you're just filling in a couple times, on average a week, then being classified as a 1099 may make more sense. And in that scenario, generally, they're not going to pay for any of those things. You're going to have to pay for your own license and DEA. You're going to have to pay for your own malpractice. They're not going to give you any kind of benefits. And then, as I said before, your compensation will not have any taxes taken out of it. So you're going to have to budget and make certain that you're saving enough to pay for those taxes either quarterly or at the end of the year, depending upon how you want to do it. So some red flags. One, it's not uncommon for the owner of a veterinary practice to want to call somebody an independent contractor simply in order to get out of having to pay employment tax. Now, this kind of varies based upon the state, but employment tax generally is somewhere between 8 to 12% of whatever your compensation is. So that's the employer has to pay that on top of if they were just paying you as an independent contractor, they would add 8 to 12%, and that's what they would have to pay for employment tax as an employer. So I find it's simply a way for them to get out of having to pay that. But all of the duties are generally that as a full-time employee. So the IRS has like a 20-factor test that kind of, all right, if this, then maybe it leans more towards a W-2. If this, it leans more towards 1099. So what are some of those things? One, does the vet have control over their schedule? Are they able to say, I want to work this date but not this date? Are they paying for all of the things that I already mentioned themselves? Do they have access to all of the facilities of the veterinary clinic? Are they provided with techs or assistants? All the scheduling is done for them. All the equipment is provided to them. These types of things go into, it's not like a black and white, if this, then you're definitely a 1099, or if that, you're a W-2. It's kind of more of a holistic thing. And if you go through those 20 factors, kind of one can lean more towards the other. So what are the consequences if you're classified incorrectly? Well, the IRS or the state could come in and do an audit and then determine that the individual is being misclassified. And this is where the language in the contract is important. There will be some contracts that state if the either 1099 or W-2 is reclassified to something else, that any of the penalties any of the fees, any of that will be paid by the veterinarian and not the practice. And this is completely contractual, meaning the language in the contract can dictate who is responsible for what. Obviously, if you are a veterinarian, you cannot have that language in your contract. You cannot be responsible for being misclassified and then also having to pay the fines and the fees and whatever associated with that. 9 times out of 10, it's the practice that's dictating which one you are. I mean, occasionally you'll be offered the option of, do you want to work as an employee or an independent contractor? But most of the time it's the practice saying, this is the position and this is what you'll be classified as. And so if it's the practice's decision to classify you as one or the other, and then let's just say they want you to be a 1099 and then you're reclassified as an employee, you shouldn't be the one responsible for paying for the taxes, the fees. Maybe attorneys have to be involved, so then you'll have to pay for the attorney's fees and their hourly rate, and if there's any kind of like filing fees, that type of thing. This should not be your responsibility. So you need to make certain that there is not language in your contract that states you are responsible in the event there is some kind of misclassification. Now, what is the percentage of contracts that are reclassified after an audit? Extremely low. There's a small chance that this would ever happen, but there is a chance, and some states are more proactive than others in looking into whether someone is an employee or an independent contractor. So you need to look into kind of how active your state is in doing that. Most of the time, it's very unlikely that there'll be some kind of misclass or reclassification, but it could happen. So that's the main thing to take away from this video. Make certain there's no language that makes you responsible for all of the fees and costs if it comes to some kind of reclassification event. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions, if you want about your contract or independent contractor agreement, you can contact my law firm. All of the contact information is listed below in the description, and I hope you enjoyed this video. All right, thank you. Take care.